Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on Double Falsehood, and today we get to hear from the Master of Phlox in Act 4, Scene 1. Now, the Master of Phlox being like the Master Shepherd, where we're going to hang out with some shepherds, and that's in large part because Violante is currently disguised as a shepherd. Remember, she had asked her servant to get her some shepherd's garb so that she can go and try to find Enriquez and shame him into marrying her, because that will get rid of the blot on her reputation since he raped her, whatever. I don't fully understand that logic, but that's the state of mind that this particular character is in at the moment. And she knows that she can find Enriquez and that he's not married because she overheard a conversation that caught her up on all the stuff that happened when she was out wandering, dealing with the shame of having been raped. And remember, Leonora had passed out at her wedding, and they found a suicide note and a dagger on her, and Julio was taken off, sort of kicking and screaming. So that's basically where we are. And at the top of Act 4, Scene 1, we're hanging out with these shepherds who are like, there's this crazy guy, and he's been hanging out, and he's just like raving all the time, but he kind of likes the music, and that guy comes in, and it's Julio, and he's talking about treachery and betrayal and how stupid relationships are and things like that, but he's speaking very metaphorically, and the shepherds aren't understanding what he's saying. So they send Violante over to talk to him. Violante disguised as a young boy shepherd. They're like, you go talk to him, figure out what's going on. So she goes over to talk to him, and he's like, you're a woman, aren't you? And she's like, no, I'm not. He's like, no, you absolutely are. And she's like, please don't give me away. Don't give me up. Or, if I was a woman, I would hope that you would be the sort of person that wouldn't expose my secrets. And he's like, you know what you should do? You should kill yourself. And she's like, what? And he's like, yeah, like you're in a really bad situation, and being a woman sucks, and everything is terrible. So you should just kill yourself. And the other shepherds are now starting to overhear this and come into the situation, and Julio starts to think that one of the shepherds is Enriquez, so goes to attack him, and there's a little bit of a kerfluffle, and they pull the fighters apart, and Julio goes running off and disappears, and the shepherds are like, oh, we're gonna go get a drink and recover from this whole thing. And the Master of Phlox is like, I'll catch up with you. I'll be there in just a second. They're like, well, don't wait too long. And he says, I will not, sirs. This must not be a boy. His voice, mien, gesture, everything he does, savor of soft and female delicacy. He but puts on this seeming, and his garb speaks him of such a rank as well persuades me. He plays the swain, rather to cloak some purpose than forced to it by a need. I've waited long to mark the end he has in his disguise, but am not perfect in it. The madman's coil has driven him shaking hence. These fears betray him. If he prove right, I'm happy. Oh, he's here. Come hither, boy. Where did you leave the flock, child? So, this must not have been a very good shepherd's disguise that the servant got for Violante, because the same as Julio saw right through it, the Master of Phlox sees right through it and calls Violante over and is like, where did you leave him? And he's like, your hands are really delicate. They're really more feminine hands. Wink, wink. I know you're a woman. And the Master of Phlox goes as if he's going to rape her because she hasn't been through enough in this play already. And she's like, no, please don't, like, please kill me instead. And he's like, no, I'm just going to have my way with you and everything will be fine. Yeah. But then Roderick comes in because he's actually looking for his brother Enriquez, wants to find him, and has heard that Enriquez is sort of hanging out in this general area because Leonora checked into a nunnery in this general area. So he figures Enriquez is probably here looking for Leonora. So he comes in and manages to distract the Master of Phlox just long enough that Violante can run away. And he asks the Master of Phlox, like, have you seen my brother around? And the Master of Phlox is basically just a jerk to him and eventually leaves right about the time that Enriquez comes in. They're like, yeah, we're looking for Leonora. She's supposed to be in a nunnery around here somewhere. And they're like, yeah, but we're men. How are we going to get into a nunnery? And they're like, well, wait, I just saw a hearse, and it was like an empty hearse. Maybe if we went and got that, we could pretend that we had a body that we had to like store in the nunnery overnight, and then we'd be able to get in to the nunnery and find Leonora. And Roderick's like, okay, I'll help you, but you have to behave yourself. You have to act honorably and like keep everything together. Can you do that? And Enriquez is like, yeah, sure I can. Like, help me with this. So they go off to get a hearse to pretend to take a body into a nunnery so that hopefully Enriquez can talk to Leonora, and Violante is once again running through the countryside to get away from somebody who wanted to violate her. Fun stuff. But yeah, we've really only got a couple days of this left because there's only 2 scenes in Act 4 and 2 scenes in Act 5. So things are going to start to come together pretty quickly in the next couple days. So come on back tomorrow and see exactly how all of that happens. I'll see you then. Mwah.